Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm Gina Cavalli, your host. And as we continue the journey, just a quick reminder, I'm not an expert, but I am a mom. I'm just a person that lives life with the spectrum. We all know that by now. And as I promised you, as we take this journey, we're going to introduce people along the way that are going to share their journey, that are going to share their tips, tricks, and ideas that will help you on your journey. And I'd like so much to very much introduce my next guest, Tovah Ringland. Tovah, it's been years since I've seen you.
Hi, it has.
How are you?
I'm good.
Life has gotten by as COVID took over for many years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I miss seeing all my friends.
Tova and I, to give you a little background on our relationship, we met through the YMCA. The YMCA has so many great programs geared towards children, and they also have special needs programs geared towards special needs children, like the one our kids were introduced at, called STARS. We did soccer, I think, and basketball, right?
And we are starting again in the fall.
And you were a major player in that, Tova. How did that come to be?
I just volunteered, to keep myself busy, and I kept track of paperwork and money.
Don't you keep busy anyway with two boys?
I do.
So let's talk about your boys. Your boys are both adopted.
Yes.
You have a 16-year-old, right?
A 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they're both from Russia.
They're both from Russia. Did you get them when they were babies or did you get them when they were kids?
Nathan was 9 months when we got him.
Okay.
And Jaden was 2 years old, and he got home 12 years ago tomorrow.
Oh my God, congratulations. Now at 2 years old, was Jaden starting to exhibit any signs of being on the spectrum?
Jaden was in a special needs group,
Okay.
and that's the group that in his country would be going to the institution. Had we not gotten him, they kept telling us he had hyperactivity, behaviors, speech. He was getting speech therapy.
Right.
And they kept asking if we were sure we really wanted to get him.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll take everything from Russia. Hello back there. How are you? I see you in the background.
Hello.
So Jaden and Nathan both come from Russia, and we now know that Jaden is on the spectrum. You figure
Yes.
this out. It's a process of going to the doctors, and I think you have a little bit of background with special needs as well, right?
So it was really hard because he's from Russia. Everybody assumes it's fetal alcohol syndrome only. So he presents more as having autism. He may have fetal alcohol syndrome, but the way he scripts, the way he stems, things like that are autism.
Right. And the echolalia, right? You had
Yes.
some echolalia too with scripting as well.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So now with that, as parents, we try to do everything we can, getting therapies and things like that. Were you in Georgia at the time that you and your husband brought Jaden home?
Yeah, we've been in Georgia since we've had kids. He started Babies Can't Wait. We got evaluated the week after he got here. And then he's had speech and OT. He didn't start ABA till a couple of years ago.
Right.
Because we didn't have a firm diagnosis.
Well, see, and oftentimes what happens is and I've mentioned this before on the show, every single state has something, it's just called different. Here, it's called Babies First. In Colorado, it might be called, whatever it's called. It's just different in every state that you go, but there's always early intervention.
And that's part of the federal law for IDEA is that from birth through 3, there are services offered. And then once they turn 3, they can start preschool.
Yeah, they age out, they go to preschool. They usually go at 3, and then they stay till 5, and then they push them into regular kindergarten or whatnot. Sometimes that means a kid goes early to school. Like my son was born in September, so he's technically supposed to be in the 3rd grade, but he's in the 4th grade because of early intervention.
Well, and we kept Jaden back in preschool, so he stayed there till he was 6 because we didn't have any idea what to do with him, like where he would belong and what would be best for him.
So now, when did you get Jaden's actual diagnosis?
He was almost 9.
Almost 9 years old. That's a long time to wait.
When he was 4, they said he had PDD NOS.
What is
And
that?
that is before we had the autism spectrum, they had PDD NOS where they think it's autism, but they're not sure. And we also had Asperger's, and then we had autism. Now it's an entire spectrum.
The whole umbrella.
Yes, the DSM-5 changed that for everyone.
Right.
And then they said rule out fetal alcohol syndrome. Well, the fetal alcohol syndrome, people are like, no, it's only this, it can't be anything else.
Okay.
But they also said that his IQ was lower, which when we had him retested, it wasn't as low, which rules out what they diagnosed him as.
Okay, so then we go into the therapies. At that point, you were able to open up yet another world of therapies, such as ABA. The earlier the diagnosis, the better it is to get that applied behavioral analysis. In fact, next week, Tovah, I'm going to have the very best ABA therapist on the show. Her name is Angela, and she is money. That's what I called her the whole time she worked with Lyric. Your money. She she knows her stuff, and she's very good. But it was hard to watch those, my child cry in a corner, wanting to fight for 45 minutes until it was, I hate to say it, it's almost like an animal getting broke. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I know why I'm doing this. And now I can change why I'm doing this. So I'm so glad that you're able to get that. And is Jaden still going through ABA therapy?
Yes, he still gets it. We started so late. We tried floor time, we tried play therapy. So we are now doing ABA, and it's been the most successful that we've done.
It's a game changer, isn't it? It's a life changer for mom and dad too.
Oh, yes.
Really? Yeah. So now, does Jaden go to public school, or does he go to a special needs school, or a different school, a school of excellence for kids on the spectrum?
So I saw you talking about Cumberland Academy
I know.
last week. Jaden has some significant behaviors. So he cannot get into private schools.
Okay.
And he was unsuccessful in your traditional autism units at the public schools.
Right.
So the only place he's been successful is called Haven at Skyview. That is part of the GNET program, which has been very controversial and in Georgia. In 2015, the Department of Justice actually filed a lawsuit against that. There are 24 in Georgia, and like the one he goes to has Douglas County, Marietta City schools, and Cobb County.
Okay, and why would they file a lawsuit on a school that it would appear that they have behaviorally challenged children and the teaching and coping skills to help them? So why would they get sued?
So the problem is that there's 24 different ones across the state, because it's a state-run program.
Okay.
So not all of them are equal. Some of them, 9 of them actually, after this came about, had to move locations because their buildings were falling apart. Or my friend's daughter was in a building where there were no windows. They were in a basement. So it did help improve them. One of the big problems is with it being so far is Jaden is on the bus for an hour and a half to 2 hours each way to school.
Oh dear. Where is the school located?
It's in Mapleton.
In Mapleton. Okay. So respectively, geographically and traffic, anything well, we live in Atlanta.
Yes.
Anything can take you an hour and a half to go 3 miles down the road. So,
yeah. And it is 21 miles away. So yeah. It becomes very far. It's a good facility. They have a beautiful sensory room. They have enough staff to deal with the child and help them when they're having a crisis and help them work through it. Yeah. And still be able to teach the other children. And Jaden's been part of their program in the satellite program and on main campus, from 1st grade to 5th grade. And then he was in 5th and part of 6th in the regular general ed school, in a special needs unit. And then we got about April of 6th grade, he got to go back.
So is he successful there?
He generally is. We have flare-ups like the bus where he's on the bus so long and someone's setting him off.
Frustrating, sure.
or he's trying to escape, so he starts acting ridiculous and hitting a window, things like that.
Well, I hope that ABA therapy can help with that. Now, what's the name of the school one more time?
It's Haven at Skyview.
Haven at Skyview. And Tova, you seem so well versed in all things, just having known you personally and now on the professional level as well. Let me ask you this. Are there other schools like this across the country in other states where we have subscribers that maybe are listening going, oh my gosh, I need that school? Is there something like this in other places?
So in other places, they do their school districts different. In Georgia, they do their school districts by county.
Okay.
In other states, they have smaller districts. They have specialized programs where there's maybe a specialized school as part of it, or a specialized school the kids go to, which are generally closer. So there are programs, but just not as far.
As far and as maybe as many too. We live kind of in a metropolis. So with that, just continue to dig for schools like this, and then also asking the school that your child is in for help and resources. And if your child hasn't gotten to that school age quite yet, but is getting early intervention, maybe the therapists and people can help direct parents in that particular path if they have behaviors. But I'm here to tell you, no age is too early or too late in the game to start ABA therapy. In fact, and I'm very much looking forward, and you're going to like Angela, what Angela has to say, and I can almost hear her, is that you might fall out of ABA therapy for the moment. Like, let's say you do it 2 years with Jaden, and then you see this great improvement, and then you're like, oh, he's therapied out. Let me give him a break for a little bit. But then he might hop back on ABA when he's 16, 17. You just never know, because as they grow and change and mature, then all of the other things start coming into play and puberty happens.
Oh, and when puberty happens, all bets are off. A lot of kids start with all new behaviors.
Tova, if I was to ask you just a few more questions that I reached out to some subscribers. Everybody has an interest in stem cells right now. It's a big hot topic. It's a very expensive 50-50 gamble. Have you yourself and your husband discussed about possibly getting stem cells for Jaden?
I have researched it. I know a couple of kids who've spent lots of money to do it. One of the big problems is that you have to leave the country.
Yes, of
So
course.
I know people have gone to Panama. I know
Mexico,
people, which is the big place, Mexico. So it's not regulated in the state. I've also seen inconclusive results. I've seen families spend $30,000 and the child's the same.
Yeah, there went
So
college education.
it's the new miracle. Growing up, I've seen where there was a shot that everybody said it was because of shots that kids got autism. And there was a while where there was a shot that was supposed to reverse it. It didn't work. Then putting a kid on a horse was supposed to be the magic cure. And
Yeah.
it's not. And I've seen, people trying to have special diets. Every child's different. There is no magic cure.
Now, let me ask you a question, just mom to mom. For me, it's the hardest pill to swallow, right? It's the hardest pill to swallow, knowing that there might be lifelong assistance needed. The hope and the prayer is that you raise the most productive human being that you humanly possibly can, so that when your time is up, that you know that they can at least take care of themselves and whatnot. Do you find that it's still a hard pill to swallow, Tova, or have you swallowed it completely?
I think it's just always thinking about when we die.
Yes.
What are we going to need to do for when we die? What do we need to teach him? What do we have to prepare? We just opened an ABLE account, which is a new federal program, which we can put money away for him that will not hurt when he gets SSI. So that he'll have money for if he needs a place to live, things like that.
And that's the ABLE account. Is that just offered in Georgia, or is that opened up federally?
Federal. It's federal. In Georgia, we call it the stable account. Every state has their own program. And we were able to transfer college money into it so that he will have money. We have our wills with our special needs trust to cover him. So everything is just planning for the what ifs.
The what
And,
ifs.
that's a little scary.
Yeah. I think everybody here just kind of took a breath, took a moment because it is scary and it's inevitable. Like death and taxes, the only two things certain in life. And we do have to prepare. And it is better to be ahead of the eight ball than behind it, obviously. So I'm glad that you just mentioned the ABLE account, correct?
Yes, and the ABLE account is a federal program. Um, they made the ruling that we could have this before they made the ABLE, and then each state had to implement it. And then after Georgia implemented it, it took a while till we could start transferring over college funds
Okay.
into it. So it's
love
if
that.
you have a place like we have Focus here, they usually give a conference where they actually people come and speak and answer questions about that, which I found to be very helpful.
I miss you, Tova. I think you are just a plethora of information. I mean, I know you to be an outstanding mother and a human being, and I just feel like I could pick your brain for days on all of the information that you just have stored up in here. Is there anything that you'd want to leave that maybe I haven't touched on that you'd like to touch on? And not for nothing, you're always welcome back
Well,
on
thank
the show.
you.
But is there something that you really wanted to talk about that I haven't, I would be remiss if I didn't give you the floor.
Well, I just think it's important that, it's really hard navigating special education. And it's important to educate yourself because people aren't intentionally trying to take advantage of you or your child. But there's times where things aren't getting done. So there's a book called From Emotions to Advocacy. That's
Okay.
Wright's Law, which is a great book to read. The more you know, the better.
Yeah, knowledge is power
Mhm.
for sure. So rights to advocacy.
It's called From Emotions
Oh,
to
emotion.
Advocacy, and it's by Wright's Law.
Okay.
Um, Great book. Anybody can read it, whether you know about special education or not. It just explains it in such a good manner.
So I would encourage everyone watching and following our journey and being part of our journey, Life with the Spectrum, that if you want to comment below, if you want to get with Tova, if you want to ask Tova questions, find Tova through me. You can always comment below, DM me, share, like the video, find me on email, GinaMarieFM at gmail.com. Tova, I don't know if you are comfortable giving out your email address.
I am on Facebook, Tovah Ringland.
And she's
Tovah. There are not many Tovas.
well, and there is only really one you, Tova. You are you're just somebody that I find always has a great shoulder, a great ear, and will stand up for the rights of children, for the rights of teenagers, for the rights of young adults and adults in general who have autism spectrum disorder. And I thank you so very much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having this show. I've been watching every week, and I think it's a great thing.
And I can't wait to have you back. I'm going to write like a list of things, and hopefully you can comment below and have a list of questions for Tova because she really is. She's just got it. Your money too.
And I will gladly answer anything. I will gladly come back, anything that helps people.
Well, thank you so much. Again, we're not experts. We're not doctors. We are parents living life with the spectrum. Thank you so much for taking the journey with us. Until next week. And again, thank you, Tova, so very much. See ya.
Thank you.